welcome to Hard Talk India. It's been a bad year for the Bharatiya Janata Party. It seems as if everything that could have gone wrong has in fact gone wrong. So is the party in crisis, and has the leadership failed to stem the rot? Those are two of the critical questions that I shall put today to the General Secretary of the party, a man that many predict could be the party's president one day, Arun Jaitley. Arun Jaitley, is the BJP in crisis?
I think we've just won an election and formed a government in Jharkhand. Quite unexpectedly, along with the ally, the JDU, the NDA has become the principal force in Bihar, unseating the RJD, a UPA ally. And after these two major victories, after the loss in the Lok Sabha election, I think when you say it's crisis time, it's a little bit of an exaggeration.
You have dissent in Gujarat, you have dissent in Madhya Pradesh. The Saksang Chalak, the head of the Sangh Parivar, has severely criticized the party. You failed to win in Maharashtra where you should have.
Well, I think in a party which is originally a cadre-based party, which has now evolved into a cadre-based mass party, you will always have situations where people have different reactions to situations or to even individuals. But to call it a dissent, there could be a divergence of opinion. I don't think it's a dissent, it's grievances which people raised in a given situation, and the party has an internal mechanism. We try and sort it out.
So you're saying there's no crisis?
I don't think there's a crisis. There are issues which come up from time to time.
Pramod Mahajan, your fellow General Secretary, says there is a crisis. On the 14th of April, he said, and I quote, "The BJP is passing through a crisis for the last 1 year after we lost the Lok Sabha elections."
Well, the choice of phrase can be of the individual. I have not come across this statement. But I think we are passing through a situation where you get into the opposition, and when you are recouping yourself, and the first year is always a bad time after elections for the opposition, because the government normally keeps losing. But in this case, we've grouped up quite well. We've kept the NDA intact. We've kept our state governments broadly intact. We had a loss in Maharashtra, but let me tell you, it was a marginal loss only. It was not a major loss.
It was devastating because you were hoping to start your comeback from there.
Well, we didn't succeed there, but we succeeded elsewhere. Politics has no last day in its calendar.
All right, then let's take up the case for saying there's a crisis, and let's start with the comments made by the RSS Sangsang Chalak. K.S. Sudarshan says that Atal Bihari Vajpayee wasn't an outstanding Prime Minister. Now that hits at the very core of your claim that the BJP gave India good governance. Sonia Gandhi used to disagree. Now your closest ally disagrees.
Well, Mani Sudarshan ji has made a statement subsequently also which clarifies the context in which the earlier statement is made.
But he didn't deny the earlier statement.
Let us, Karan, let us not go by individuals or adjectives which individuals may use. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. Does the world and does this country regard Mr. Vajpayee as a good Prime Minister? How did he tackle national security? How did he tackle economy? How did he run a coalition government successfully for 6 years?
I'm not talking of an ordinary individual. I am talking about the RSS.
Well, I think the performance,
the head of the ideological family of which you are proud to be a member.
The performance of a government or a Prime Minister has to be judged on basis of facts, not on basis of one isolated statement which is subsequently clarified in the context.
No, forgive me. When it was clarified, it wasn't corrected. It certainly wasn't retracted. All he said was that he believes he is quoted out of context, but he doesn't deny saying it.
Well, I don't want to get into statements which others, however prominent they are, have made. I am joining issue with you when you say whether Mr. Vajpayee was a good Prime Minister. Please judge him by his performance.
I don't say it. The RSS Sangsang Chalak
Well, let me
says
say so. Let me say so.
The man who heads the family you are a part of.
Mr. Vajpayee would be dealt with the manner in which he ran the coalition government, the manner in which he ran the country, the manner in which he administered the economy, the manner in which he dealt with national security, and we are proud of his performance. We think he did exceedingly well.
Except that this RSS Sangsang Chalak isn't proud of that performance. Are you saying that Mr. Sudarshan's views are irrelevant?
Well, I am not saying anything to that effect. I don't consider myself to be in any position to comment on his views.
Are they important to you?
They are of importance to us. They are of guidance to us.
So then isn't it embarrassing that he doesn't think Mr. Vajpayee was a good Prime Minister?
The BJP has put on record a statement when this whole issue arose, and the statement precisely is what I am saying. Facts speak for themselves, and therefore we are proud.
But they don't speak for themselves to the RSS.
According to me, anyone of any prominence, when he gives a view, we listen to it with rapt attention.
But this is not anyone. This is the head of your
Well,
family,
of
the
great importance to us.
ideological
Yes,
head of the
absolutely of great
family.
importance
You
to
can't
us.
dismiss him as anyone.
Well, I am not going to dismiss
He's a very
it.
special person.
He's an extremely special
He's
person.
probably the most important
We
person
hold
in the
him-
Sangh Parivar.
We hold him in the highest esteem, but all that I am saying is...
In which case,
all
how
that
can
I
you
am
not
saying
be
is...
embarrassed by his views?
Well, according to me, we are not certainly embarrassed by Mr. Vajpayee's performance. We are certainly proud of his performance.
All right, it's not just Mr. Vajpayee's performance as Prime Minister that Mr. Sudarshan spoke about. Mr. Sudarshan has also said that when he drew Mr. Vajpayee's attention to allegations about his son-in-law Ranjan Bhattacharya interfering in government affairs, Mr. Vajpayee heard the point and then said it was difficult to do anything about it. That's tantamount to the RSS Sansad Chalak claiming that Mr. Vajpayee was condoning corruption.
Well, I am not aware of the conversation which went on between two very eminent people.
Can I
But
quote to you what he said?
I have certainly heard his statement, and therefore, let me just answer. As I said, I am not privy to that conversation. But is there a specific illustration that you or anyone else for that matter can make where there was a case of corruption as far as Mr. Vajpayee's relatives are concerned? I've been in this government for 5 years, and I don't recollect a single instance where any charge of this kind with any kind of even a marginal evidence has been
So
stated.
do you know the implication of what you're saying? That Mr. Sudarshan, the Sansad Chalak, spoke without evidence.
Well,
He spoke
I am
without
not
basis.
for a moment. I am not for a moment suggesting that. I am not
That's the
privy to.
implication.
Well, I am not privy to that conversation, and therefore I am not in a position to comment, nor will I comment on that conversation.
In fact, when Mr. Vajpayee tried to defend his son-in-law by pointing out that these allegations were unfounded, the Sansad Chalak says, and he says it himself, that his reply was, if people are saying it, there has to be something behind it. In other words, there's no smoke without fire.
Karan, for any smoke with fire, I think you can make the allegation and I'll respond to that. I won't respond to a conversation in private between two individuals to which I am not a privy.
Except for the fact that the Sansad Chalak made the conversation public himself.
Well, he certainly made it public and he knows the facts.
And he cast
the best.
aspersions on Mr. Vajpayee in the process.
Therefore, if there is a statement which is made against Mr. Vajpayee, please substantiate the specific
And he's the
allegation.
head of your family.
And I
He
would be
thinks
in a
that the-
position to defend the allegation. But I certainly would not be in a position to defend him against a conversation to which I am not a privy.
Now, 6 months ago, your party chose L.K. Advani to serve as president. The Sansad Chalak says that L.K. Advani is too old, he should step aside. That is a resounding
think-
slap in the face.
Well, I don't think it's a resounding slap in anybody's face. In the political
It's not,
process,
it's not an endorsement.
well, when the debate went on after Nehru, it certainly wasn't a slap in the face of Pandit Nehru. It was an eminent reality which people did discuss.
Except that this is not after Advani who. This is a case of Advani is too old, he should relinquish the post, he should get out.
I think Mr. Advani enjoys a very good health. Mr. Advani is very active. In fact, he's more active than a large number of us. And I think in the last 6 months,
How
the
come Mr. Sudarshan doesn't
Well,
recognize that?
I am not going to comment on views of others. All that I'll say is, Mr. Advani has a good team working with him. Mr. Advani has strengthened the party. Mr. Advani has reactivated the party.
But
And
Mr. Sudarshan doesn't recognize it. Mr. Sudarshan is the head of the Sangh Parivar. He is the head
Well,
of the
as I said-
ideological
I
family
said, even
you are
as far
proud
as-
to be a part of.
I'm certainly proud to be a part of. I'm proud to be a part of the ideological family. I'm proud to be a part of the party. But let me say this. As far as Mr. Advani's performance as party president is concerned, how he leads the party is to be judged on that basis. Now, if people discuss in the abstract what happens as far as the future is concerned, they have a right to
This is
discuss
not
it.
the future. This is the Sansad Chalak saying that
Well, I
L.K.
think
Advani is
I
an
have
old
understood
man,
that
L.K. Advani should get out.
I have understood the statement by various people really to mean, in the abstract, that a new generational leadership is also being prepared and should get ready for the future. But as of today, we in the BJP firmly believe that both Mr. Advani and Mr. Vajpayee have been very senior leaders. They've been probably one of the best talents in Indian politics. They are leading us eminently and effectively very well. And therefore, for any one of us to comment on a situation where they are not around, what happens, I think it's too early for us to even think.
Except that it's not your comment I'm talking about, it's the Sansad Chalak, but let's leave it there. This is probably an embarrassing matter because clearly this is a
I
man
don't think
whose
it's an
wishes are
embarrassing matter.
orders, and
Karan,
today you're in a
I
position of
don't
having
think
to
it's an
define them.
embarrassing matter for a structured political party. You have parties in India, both at the center and the states, which are run around one individual or one family. There, the leadership question is
Let's
irrelevant.
not deflect.
In structured
Let's
parties,
not deflect. Let's stick to the
No, no,
man
I'm
at
coming
the
to this.
apex of the Sangh
in a
Parivar.
structured party, there is a process by which a leadership comes up And BJP being a structured political party, that process is on.
All right, you're talking about the BJP as a structured and disciplined political party. Let me tell you, it's not just the RSS that's disillusioned with you. Uma Bharti, your former General Secretary, doesn't miss an opportunity to snub Mr. Advani, her president, in public. It's rank indiscipline, yet you can't do anything about it.
Well, when it was a case of indiscipline, Mr. Advani did act. And subsequently...
And look how quickly he changed his mind. You're referring to November, when she stormed out of a meeting, the press were there, television were there. No doubt you stripped her of the General Secretaryship and you suspended her membership. Days later, she was dining with Advani and Vajpayee. 6 weeks later, her membership was restored.
Probably rightly so.
Rightly so. So then what message was there?
Yes, I'll tell you the message. A political party is not on an employee-employer relationship. A political party is more like a family, and we run it on that basis. There are times when you have to hold people responsible for the acts they do. There are times when you have to cajole. There are times when you have to show affection. There are times when you have to pardon them.
Except for the fact that within almost 3 days of her walking out and embarrassing you in public, she was back dining with Advani and Vajpayee. Within 3 days from pushing her out, you were cajoling her.
She certainly did make amends.
She never apologized in public.
But she did make amends. She wrote letters to him.
Silently, perhaps, but not in public.
I'm afraid
she embarrassed him in public.
She expressed regret. She expressed regret to the letters. She made it public. She's given interviews. And therefore, if they took her back, I think they were entitled to do so.
Well, you say they were entitled to do so. 2 weeks ago, she said to the press in Amar Kantak that she had ideological differences with Mr. Advani. She said there were hidden hands in the BJP that were thwarting her. It made headline news. It embarrassed your party. But nothing was done about it.
Well, she's written a letter to Mr. Advani.
Yet again.
She's written a letter to Mr. Advani.
So she embarrasses him in public and writes letters in private.
She's written a letter to Mr. Advani which says quite to the contrary. I won't disclose the contents of the letter to you, but then people have to be more careful about
But you need to, because I'm accusing you of being humiliated and taking the humiliation.
Certainly
now, if she's making reparations, you need to tell me.
I reject that accusation. All that I can say is that responsible and important members of any party, including ours, have to be more careful when they speak to the media, so that they don't have to then make clarifications every now and then.
But she makes the clarifications in private. She makes the accusations in public. You are embarrassed, but when your face is saved, no one knows about it.
I think that's a question, rather than accuse me, you should address to her. All that I am saying is that important members within the party should be a little more careful about what they say in public.
The reason I'm bringing it up is this is part of the situation that I believe has become a crisis for you. K.S. Sudarshan, the Sangsang Chalak, has virtually buried you as a party in public, but you don't want to talk about that. Uma Bharti, who you say remains a loyal worker, is spitting at you in public. You don't want to talk about that.
Well, let me just give you an advice. I'm not in a position to, but I certainly would be. Don't write political obituaries. Don't bury political parties.
Mean you believe there's life after death? Because you're pretty close to the grave as a party at the moment.
I think if you see the popular opinion in this country, we still continue to be amongst the 2 largest political parties in this country. We are having governments in half a dozen states. We've just scored victories in 2 elections.
Was still.
Still, we've just a few weeks ago scored major victories in 2 state elections. We are probably going to repeat that performance. Politics is like rotating, revolving doors. Therefore, don't be under an impression that one statement is a crisis situation in politics.
Not one statement. Here, Uma Bharti, a former General Secretary, a former cabinet member, a former Chief Minister, has reduced L.K. Advani to a helpless old man.
Well, I don't think Mr. Advani is a helpless old man. Mr. Advani is a senior statesman. When he has to discipline a member of the party, he knows how to do it. When he has to cajole them, he knows how to do it.
That's what I'm questioning. Because Uma Bharti continues to claim in Madhya Pradesh that the party wins because of her. She's even saying that she may have given up the post of Chief Minister, but the responsibilities remain hers. She's embarrassing you every way.
But how does that embarrass her? If she wants to have a role in that...
Because Babu Lal Gaur, her successor, is being questioned by her.
No, according to me, that's not correct. Babu Lal Gaur is the Chief Minister. Uma Bharti feels, and she's entitled to feel, that she has a role in Madhya Pradesh. That role may be as Chief Minister, that role may be as a party leader, that role may be as a party worker. And therefore, if she says, I have a role, please don't tear her statements out of context. She may have made a mistake.
I'm not tearing them out of context. I am simply interpreting them the way the world does.
I'm sorry, Uma Bharti has said, I still have a responsibility to the people of Madhya Pradesh. That's not a statement that embarrasses the BJP.
No, but what embarrasses the BJP is the way she has recast the image of a man you brought in as the Iron Man of the BJP. The Iron Man today is the toothless tiger.
No, the Iron Man is the Iron Man. Don't exaggerate it. Don't let's bring it down. As
so full of iron that he can't discipline Uma Bharti?
Well, I think as far as individuals are concerned, who are grown-up individuals, have to learn up themselves. Therefore, as far as Mr. Advani is concerned, he has a game plan as far as dealing with individuals is concerned. In a political party,
invisible to the rest of the country.
well, it's very visible to us. If you choose not to see it, that's a different question. Therefore, he has to keep her, and he has a game plan. He is playing as per the game plan. She's written to him, and she's written to him in a very constructive tone.
You know, it's not just Uma Bharti, it's not just K.S. Sudarshan who are damaging the party. The worst part is that your own Chief Minister in Gujarat has actually destroyed your credibility today in the eyes of tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions. He's become synonymous with injustice and wrongdoing.
Well, I think that's a debate which has been going on in India for the last 3-4 years. None of us in the BJP, whether it's in Gujarat or in the center, is certainly happy with the situation where you have a social tension, riots, people get killed, and so on. Unfortunately, today, to just identify one individual as the source of the problem, I think is a lot of exaggeration.
Well,
after the riots, now let's come to this. After the riots, you had an election, he won the election. After he's won the election, there has not been a single case of tension as far as Gujarat is concerned.
I'm not talking about tension, I'm talking about the comments of the Supreme Court. Let me remind you of what different Chief Justices in public court have said. In September 2003, the Chief Justice said he had lost faith in the Gujarat government. 6 months later, in April 2004, he compared the Gujarat government to modern-day Neros who looked the other way when innocent women and children were burnt. A month later, the Supreme Court said that the Gujarat government showed more sympathy for the accused than for the victims.
Well,
those are
Karan,
stinging indictments.
Karan, as far as comments made orally in courts are concerned, I think courts also in matters with political overtones have to be a lot careful about how the nuances of those statements are. These are not judgments. One of them
These
is
are stinging comments.
These are oral comments in court.
But they're stinging.
I'm afraid...
Any other chief minister would have resigned.
Well, courts have in the past also made statements that there is a law and order breakdown in a given state. There should be 356 in a given state. People have made that statement. But what we follow a rule of law where you go by judgments.
All right.
Individual comments, individual comments of this kind should be restrained. And if they are to be made, they should be made in judgments and not as mere oral comments.
Fine. Let's then go by the Supreme Court's judgments. To begin with, it reopened the Best Bakery and the Bilkis rape case and transferred both outside Gujarat. Then they replaced several of the prosecutors appointed by the government in Gujarat. Most importantly, in August 2108, out of 4,256 closed cases were reopened and shifted out. That's a clear sign that the Supreme Court doesn't believe justice is possible in Gujarat under Modi.
I'm afraid that's not the situation.
It is.
I'm afraid that's not, and I'll now demonstrate it to you. Even in the past, when communal riots have occurred, one of the great unfortunate and sad aspects have been that subsequently to get evidences on these cases has become difficult. If the Supreme Court feels that in a given case requires to be reinvestigated, in the interest of justice to be tried outside the state because of an environment or because of any other reason, I think that's the correct job of the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, even in the past...
Except that the implication for the state government is that the state government cannot give justice.
Well, I'm afraid, no. When you have cases in Bihar being investigated by the local police and they are given to the CBI, when you have a case
So your defense of Modi is to compare him with the government Lalu Yadav gave Bihar?
That's not a defense of Modi. Modi is not an accused in any one of those cases. When the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister's case is transferred to Karnataka, that's the right job of the Supreme Court to do it, and neither I nor Modi nor anybody else should look at it as adversarial. Our job is to assist the judicial process in finding out who's guilty, who's innocent.
Mr. Jaitley, R.B. Srikumar, the former head of intelligence in Gujarat, in affidavit sworn and filed to the Nanavati Commission, a commission your government set up, has said that senior BJP leaders had told him not to file prosecution cases. Let me finish. Had told him not to file prosecution cases against VHP and Bajrang Dal people. Worse, they had told him to manipulate FIRs filed by Muslims to minimize the offences they were complaining about.
Well, Karan, we have a judicial process in India where neither you nor I have been given the adjudicatory authority.
But this is tampering with justice.
I am sorry, this officer's charge has to be investigated either by the court or by the Judicial Commission, and you'll reserve your comment till it is adjudicated. Several such allegations which have been made in the past have been torn apart when they've been argued in court.
All right.
They're found to be false.
You don't want to go by this gentleman? Go by your own MLAs. Go by your own MLAs and your own ministers in Gujarat. Keshubai Patel says, and I'm quoting, Gujarat is directionless. The party leadership should remove Modi. Purushottam Solanki says that Modi is like Hitler. And in March, the paper said that up to 60 MLAs had wanted Modi replaced. Are they all wrong?
Well, first of all, let me just tell you, I have something to do with Gujarat also. I am an MP from there. Your figure of 60, which you quote the newspapers, is factually incorrect.
Even if it's 40,
Gujarat today,
how does the
in
figure
terms,
matter?
the figure is relevant. If 60 was 16, then of course it makes a material change in the situation. Secondly, in terms of developmental activity, Gujarat today is one of the best administered state. Post the last assembly elections,
Quite right.
The law and order in Gujarat has been good. Unfortunately,
So good that Mr. Vajpayee publicly admitted that in 2002 he wanted to replace Modi.
Well,
He publicly said it.
Well, there's nothing wrong in it. Mr. Vajpayee said it publicly also after the elections. There was a discussion within the party when the riots had taken place and so on as to how do you deal with the situation. But then the party goes by a collective opinion.
And now your NDA allies, Nitish Kumar in particular, on the 25th of April in Patna, says that Modi is a liability and an embarrassment for the whole
Well,
NDA.
these are your phrases, not Nitish Kumar's
These are
phrases.
Nitish Kumar's phrases.
Nitish Kumar,
they are taken from
well,
the paper.
Nitish Kumar has said earlier, and he said it is BJP's own affair what they do with their chief minister. I would have, from our point of view, BJP would have been better off if they have replaced it. Embarrassment and so on are not phrases that Nitish Kumar
They were in the
used.
newspaper. He's never denied them.
Well, according to me, you put out a news and then say because it's not denied,
That's
it's
very
deemed to be true.
convenient.
Well,
I began by saying that the BJP was in crisis. Let me end by saying this. It seems that L.K. Advani, your great hope, has failed as a leader.
Well, Mr. Advani has been a very successful leader of the BJP.
So successful, he's lost the confidence of K. Sudarshan.
Well, he's been so
that Uma Bharti snubs him in public.
He's so successful that when the party had 2 seats in the Lok Sabha, with every successive election under his
That
and
was
Mr. Vajpayee...
89. I'm talking about 2005.
Yes. I'm coming to the whole history of the last few years. From 2 seats, Mr. Vajpayee and Mr. Advani rode us to power. With every election, we've improved. We are one of the largest parties in the state.
Not with
And
every election. Not with every election. In 2004, you went down.
That's the only election.
But it's the one that counts. It's the one that led you to the crisis
according
today.
to me, 5 consecutive elections, we've improved our position. If in one election we go down, it's a passing phase. As I said, politics is like revolving doors. Don't identify and exaggerate to the extent that one stray statement is a crisis.
This is like an ostrich burying its head in the sand and hoping the storm will blow away, but in fact the storm is getting worse.
Well, this is like a prophet of doom who's bound to be disappointed.
No, I'm not the prophet of doom. I'm simply asking you whether you recognize the disaster that faces you.
Well, we are neither in a disaster nor in a crisis. We are just in the opposition and we'll fight back.
And all the question marks about L.K. Advani which grow from day to day, an 80-year-old who's out of step with the country, you think that's just so much hot air?
Well, those who raise question marks will certainly get the answers, and the answers will lie with every successive election where you'll again find the party doing better.
Arun Jaitley, a pleasure having you on Hard Talk.
Thank you, Gaurav.